I stood there in the relentless Montana sun, the kind that bakes the earth dry and cracks it like old leather, watching them lower my husband's casket into the ground. The air smelled of sagebrush and distant pine, carried on a breeze from the Rockies that loomed like silent guardians over our small town of Billings. Folks from all around had come, ranchers in their best boots, architects from Jack's firm, even some suits from Western Horizons Development, the company where he'd poured his soul into building sustainable homes for families like ours. But as the preacher droned on about eternal peace, all I could feel was the weight of that tiny flash drive burning in my pocket, slipped to me by my brother-in-law during the handshakes and hugs. My name is Emily Hayes, and at 35, I never thought I'd be burying Jack on a crisp autumn afternoon. We'd built our life here in the West, where the land stretches forever and dreams feel as big as the sky. Jack was an architect with a heart for the environment, designing eco-friendly communities that blended with the rugged beauty of places like the Yellowstone Valley. Our home, a modest ranch-style house he'd sketched on napkins during our honeymoon, still echoed with his laughter and the scent of his morning coffee, strong, black, like the man himself. The service was simple, the way Jack would have wanted. No fancy lilies or polished mahogany, just wildflowers from the fields and a pine box he'd have called practical. Margaret Hayes, my mother-in-law, stood beside me, her face a mask of stoic grief under her wide-brimmed hat. She was the matriarch of the Hayes family, a woman who'd turned her late husband's failing construction business into a stake in Western Horizons, a powerhouse in green development across the western states. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, stayed dry. "Such a senseless loss," she murmured, her voice carrying that refined edge from years in boardrooms. "That mountain pass has claimed too many good drivers." I nodded, words stuck in my throat. The sheriff's report had been cut and dried. Jack's truck had skidded off Highway 212 in a sudden rainstorm, plunging into a ravine. Excessive speed on slick roads, they said. Case closed. He'd been heading back from a late site meeting in Bozeman, probably pushing through fatigue, his mind on blueprints and better ways to harness solar power. But as the crowd dispersed, whispering about fate and bad luck, Luke showed up, Jack's younger brother, the family outlier who ditched college for odd jobs and long disappearances into the backcountry. Luke looked out of place in his wrinkled suit, his beard unkempt, eyes shadowed. The Hayes clan barely glanced his way. There'd been some old rift Jack never detailed. Something about money and choices. He approached me quietly, clasping my hand in what seemed like sympathy. But instead, I felt the cool metal of the drive press into my palm. "Watch this alone," he whispered, his breath hot against my ear. Then he vanished into the thinning crowd. Back home that evening, with the house too quiet and the sunset painting the hills in fiery oranges, I unwrapped the note taped to the drive. "Don't trust anyone," written in Luke's scrawled hand, red ink like a warning. My fingers shook as I plugged it into my laptop. One video file, dated a week before the crash. Jack's face appeared, lit by his office lamp, the Rockies visible through the window behind him. But his usual easy smile was gone, replaced by lines of worry I'd missed in those final days. "Emily," he said, and hearing my name broke something inside me. "If you're seeing this, something's gone wrong. And Luke got it to you like I asked." He glanced at the door, tense. "I uncovered something at work. Big. Ugly. Fraud that's putting people at risk. I've documented it all here. But I think they're onto me." A creak off-screen made him freeze. Then, quieter, "The evidence is on this drive. Recordings, files. But be careful. Don't trust anyone, especially not the higher-ups. The video cut off, leaving me in silence, tears blurring the screen.
I didn't sleep that night.
Instead, I dove into the files, barricaded in Jack's study amid his models of wind-powered homes and sketches of community gardens. Spreadsheets with annotations in his neat print, budgeted $50 million for materials, actual spend $36 million. Where's the $14 million? It's centered on the Rocky Haven project, a flagship development in the Montana foothills, affordable, eco-homes for working families. Jack had been lead architect, thrilled to create something lasting, something that gave back to the land we'd both grown up loving. An audio file from 2 weeks prior, Jack's voice. Hushed.
Tom.
Look at these numbers again.
Evet repočekt.
Tom Barrett, the CFO and Jack's old college buddy, replied smoothly. Jack, you're seeing ghosts. Projects like this have overruns. But Jack pressed. These aren't overruns. Substandard lumber. Cheap wiring, it's systematic. Someone's cutting corners and pocketing the difference. Tom's tone shifted. I'd think twice before stirring this up. The board won't like it. More files painted a grim picture, photos of falsified invoices, emails approving shady vendors. And there, on key documents,
Margaret's signature bold.
Unmistakable. My mother-in-law, who'd mentored Jack, pushed him up the ranks. The last recording chilled me. Jack. The night before the crash. I'm taking this to a lawyer tomorrow. One outside the company.
Inc.
If I don't make it. I love you. Trust Luke, he's clean. Never took their handouts. Don't let them bury this. Rage boiled up, mixing with grief. This wasn't an accident. Jack had been silenced for threatening a $14 million scam that endangered lives. Homes with faulty foundations. Electrical fire risks. Families like the ones we'd planned to start our own with. I thought of calling the sheriff. But who to trust? The drive screamed caution. Instead, I started piecing it together, vowing to be smarter than Jack had been. He'd confronted them head-on. I'd play the long game. The next day, I tracked down Sarah Klein, a project analyst mentioned in the files. Her profile showed she'd left Western Horizons recently, fired.
Probably.
We met at a diner off I-90, the kind with vinyl booths and endless coffee refills. Sarah, mid-40s with tired eyes, sized me up. You look like Jack, same fire. She slid over more docs, test results showing materials failing code. He came to me suspicious. We dug. Found the skim. It's not just money. Those homes could collapse in a quake. Who knew? I asked. Tom for sure. And Margaret. She signed off. Sarah leaned in. Jack set a board meeting. Never happened. We talked for hours. Her fear mirroring mine. She suggested a forensic accountant, unconnected to the company. As I left, determination hardened. This was bigger than us, lives at stake in the West's harsh winters and seismic zones. Driving back from the diner, the vast Montana plains stretched out like a promise unkept, the kind Jack and I used to chase on weekend hikes. But now, every shadow felt like a threat. I stopped at our ranch, the horses nickering softly in the corral, and called Luke. I need answers, I said. About Margaret, the company, everything. Meet me at the cabin, he replied, voice low. And tell no one. The cabin was our family retreat, tucked in the Gallatin Range. A simple log structure Jack had renovated with solar panels and rainwater systems. Luke's old Jeep was there when I arrived, dust caked from back roads. Inside, a fire crackled, casting flickering light on his weathered face. You want the dirt on Mom? He started. handing me a mug of black coffee. It goes back to Dad's death. Heart attack during a bad year for the business. Droughts hitting construction hard.
He said.
Listening as he unpacked the past. Margaret had sold off assets cheap to Western Horizons, then invested smart, or insider smart, in their stock before a boom in green incentives from the feds. She offered me a cut.
I said no. Hit the road instead.
Jack was at school in Denver, buried in designs. She fed him the clean version.
Got him a job.
Jack had believed in merit, in building ethically. But the files showed otherwise. He found out, Luke said. Tried to fix it quietly. We pored over the drive together. Luke adding context. Tom had gambling debts. Margaret a taste for power. They saw Jack as a threat to the empire. I needed more proof, something ironclad for court. Sarah had mentioned federal whistleblower laws. Out here, with land use tied to environmental regs, the EPA and SEC could get involved. But first, the lawyer Jack mentioned, Elias Grant, an old-timer in Billings, specializing in corporate disputes. No ties to Western Horizons. I met Elias in his cluttered office downtown. The walls lined with maps of Western land claims. Your husband's evidence is solid, he said, peering over bifocals. Fraud under RICO statutes, racketeering. And if we prove tampering, he trailed off, advising caution. File anonymously at first. Build the case. Days blurred into nights of research. I learned about brake line sabotage common in rural accidents, how rain masks it. Jack's truck had been totaled, but photos in the sheriff's report showed anomalies, fluid leaks inconsistent with impact. I hired a mechanic, ex-military, to review. Someone messed with the hydraulics. Not weather, deliberate. Meanwhile, Margaret called daily, her voice syrupy with concern. Come stay at the main house.
Dear.
We're family. I played along. The grieving widow. While inside, betrayal festered. Tom stopped by once, offering help with paperwork, his eyes darting like a cornered coyote. Luke and I scouted the crash site, a twisting pass through the Beartooths. Tire marks suggested control loss at a curve, but no skid. Brakes failed outright. They planned it, Luke growled. We found a hidden trail camera Jack had set for wildlife. It captured a suspicious truck lingering days before. Emboldened, I confronted Sarah again. We need witnesses. She hesitated but agreed to testify if protected. Under U.S. whistleblower laws, she could claim rewards up to 30% of recovered funds. It felt mercenary, but out west, survival often is. As winter whispered in with early snows, pressure mounted. Anonymous calls came, drop it, or join him. I installed security at the ranch, heart pounding at every creak. But grief fueled me, Jack's memory, his passion for honest work. He'd wanted kids here, teaching them to respect the land.
Now,
I'd fight for that legacy. Elias filed the initial complaint with the DOJ, citing fraud and possible manslaughter. Response was swift. Investigators from Denver arrived, poring over records. But Western Horizons pushed back, lawsuits for defamation, claims I was unstable from loss. One night, Luke showed up bruised. Tom's goons roughed me up. Warning shot. Fury ignited. We traced the hired muscle to a security firm in Wyoming, linked to the company. Evidence mounted. Bank transfers for consulting that screamed payoffs. In a breakthrough, Elias uncovered emails. Tom to Margaret. Handle the architect issue before it blows. Coded.
But damning.
We had conspiracy. Yet doubt crept in. Was revenge worth the toll? Jack's video haunted me. People could get hurt. It wasn't just us. It was families dreaming of safe homes in these mountains. I met Margaret for coffee in town. Testing waters. Her face softened briefly. Jack was my pride. But when I hinted at discrepancies, her eyes hardened. Business is tough out here. Sometimes corners get cut. Leaving. Resolve steeled. Humane or not, justice demanded action. But deep down, I wondered if there was room for understanding. Margaret's rise from widowhood. Scraping in a man's world. Snow blanketed the ranch by Thanksgiving, turning the world white and silent, much like the void Jack left. I spent the holiday alone, ignoring Margaret's invite, instead reviewing case files by the fire. The DOJ had escalated, raids on Western Horizon's offices in Billings and Cheyenne, seizing servers. Headlines screamed, "Fraud probe in eco-housing giant," stirring the tight-knit Western communities where trust is currency. Tom cracked first. Summoned for questioning. He lawyered up. But leaks suggested he was flipping, offering dirt for leniency under federal guidelines. Margaret held firm, her attorneys filing motions to dismiss, claiming overreach. But Elias was relentless. "We've got wire fraud across state lines. Idaho suppliers involved." That's FBI territory. Luke and I drove to Denver for depositions. The city felt alien after Montana's open spaces. But the federal building was all business. I testified about the drive, Jack's warnings, playing the video for agents. Their faces grimmed. One whispered, "This is murder." Plain as day. Back home. A breakthrough. The mechanics report confirmed sabotage. Brake fluid swapped with a corrosive mix. Failing under stress. Matched to a purchase trace to a company card. And the trail camera? It showed a shadowy figure tampering near our driveway days before. Confrontation loomed. Elias arranged a mediated meeting under pretext of estate settlement, neutral ground in a Billings conference room, wired for sound with court approval. Margaret arrived poised, Tom fidgety beside her. "Emily, this nonsense must end," she said. "Grief's clouding your judgment." I laid out photos. Recordings. Jack knew. "You signed off on the skim." Tom's face paled. Margaret's jaw tightened. "Business decisions," she snapped. But when I played Jack's last audio, his plea about families, something flickered in her eyes. Regret? Tom bolted verbally. It was her idea to handle it quietly. Chaos erupted. Guards intervened. The tape sealed it, admissions under duress. But admissible. Arrests followed. Margaret and Tom charged with conspiracy. Fraud. Vehicular homicide. Bail denied for flight risk. Margaret's private jet grounded. The press swarmed. I gave a statement. This is for the families Jack wanted to protect. But humanity tugged. Visiting Margaret in jail. Her designer clothes swapped for orange. She broke. "I built this for us, for Jack. After your father-in-law died, I had nothing. I cut corners to survive." Tears came. "I never meant for him to die. Tom hired the mechanic. I just looked away." Her confession humanized her, a widow fighting in a cutthroat industry, where women like her clawed up amid good old boys. But it didn't excuse murder. "Jack deserved better," I said. She nodded, whispering apologies. The trial loomed, but pleas emerged. Tom took a deal, 25 years, testifying fully. Margaret followed, guilty to lesser charges, 15 years.
Plus restitution.
The $14 million recovered funded project fixes. I pushed for reforms. Western Horizons restructured under oversight. Homes rebuilt to code. Sarah became compliance head. Luke joined as consultant. Healing family rifts. In quiet moments, I felt Jack's lesson: integrity over greed. But forgiveness mends what's broken. Revenge had its place, but understanding lightened the load. Spring thawed the Montana snows, rivers swelling like the emotions I'd bottled. The trial in federal court, Billings venue for local ties, drew crowds: ranchers, environmentalists, families eyeing Rocky Haven homes. Judge Harlan West presided, a no-nonsense Westerner with a gavel like thunder. Prosecution opened strong: financial trails, sabotage evidence, confessions. Sarah testified bravely. Jack uncovered the fraud to save lives. Seismic risks in these foothills are real. The mechanic detailed the tampering, designed to fail on wet curves. Like that pass. Tom on the stand, broken. Margaret authorized the skim for growth. When Jack threatened exposure, we panicked. He described hiring the saboteur, a drifter from Wyoming, now facing life. Margaret's turn shattered illusions. I confess, she said, voice trembling. Grief from my husband's death twisted me. I thought protecting the company protected the family. The jury, everyday folks from the West, softened. Many knew hard times. Defense argued mitigation, no direct murder order, just negligence. But evidence overwhelmed. My testimony closed it. Playing Jack's video, I choked up. He died for truth. Don't let it be in vain. Deliberation took days. Guilty verdicts rang out. Sentences: Tom, 20 years. Margaret, 12 with parole possible, humane considering her remorse. The saboteur got life. Post-trial, I visited Margaret. Can you forgive? She asked. Not fully, I replied. But I see your pain. We talked of Jack's childhood, bridging gaps. She pledged prison time to advocacy, warning against corporate greed. The company assets transferred via Jack's trust, legal under probate laws. I oversaw rebuilds, ensuring green standards. Luke and I mended bonds, turning the ranch into a community hub. Lessons emerged gently. Family bonds endure if nurtured. And integrity builds legacies stronger than any fraud. Summer bloomed across the plains, wildflowers nodding like affirmations. Rocky Haven groundbreaking drew hundreds: families, officials, even reformed execs. I spoke. Jack dreamed of homes harmonizing with this land. Today, we honor that safe, sustainable, for generations. Margaret, via letter from prison, proud of you. Tell Luke I love him. It softened edges. Forgiveness wasn't absolution, but release. I remarried years later? No. But found peace in purpose, advocating for whistleblower protections, speaking at Western conferences. Luke settled nearby, starting a clean energy firm. The lesson lingered light. In the vast West, revenge carves deep, but compassion heals. Jack's truth won, not through destruction, but redemption, proving even betrayal can birth better tomorrows. Visiting his grave, wildflowers in hand, we did it. Love. With heart. The wind whispered back, carrying closure.